All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's up? Welcome back. Game number 2 between BeastyQT and WhiteRa. We did see last game WhiteRa with some really nice harassment of the DT action. What the F does that even mean? Come on, Forrest, you're killing me with these weird things that you say out of your mouth. We saw some really nice DT harassment from WhiteRa, and we did see a pretty solid counter push from BeastyQT later in the game and actually managed to take out a lot of production buildings of WhiteRa, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. The big thing really is that we have to remember, this game of StarCraft is such a game of economy, and if you can really kick your opponent's economy in the rear and really knock them behind in that aspect, then that's really going to put you at the best advantage. And WhiteRa was definitely the one in the last game to hurt his opponent's economy the most. BeastyQT, in fact, really didn't do anything to the economy of WhiteRa. He hardly killed any workers that entire game, and it goes a long way. It really means a lot. If you can kill, 10, 20, 30, 40 workers of your opponent, they're going to be so much further behind in the resource gathering for that time, obviously. But the biggest thing in addition to that is that from that point forward, instead of actually working on upgrades and additional production buildings and additional units, then they have to spend resources on more workers instead, just to get back to where they were. So it's kind of a double whammy. Remember, when you're playing the game, if that's something that you can really make a primary focus of the type of harassment that you do, try to really hurt your opponent's economy, then it's going to put you in a really, really good position. Now, let's talk about this game. We can see right now WhiteRa moving out to scout. Last game, we did see WhiteRa go with a 15 Nexus, super fast expand. I am, of course, not expecting that same thing from him this game, given the map. We are here on Metalopolis, a much smaller map than Taldarum Altar, and much less likely to actually be able to effectively do a fast Nexus against a Terran opponent. Luckily for WhiteRa, did manage to catch BeastyQT right away, and actually it looks like BeastyQT is going to be moving straight into WhiteRa's base right away as well. So both players are going to have a nice idea, nice and early, where their opponent is, and actually forcing some of those workers off the line. WhiteRa tempting the SCVs to try to attack him, actually stopped mining momentarily, and that's one of those things, it's a little gain. It's not huge, but it makes a little bit of a difference. First Marine is out. We are seeing a tech lab come down, so this is an alteration as opposed to what we saw last game from BeastyQT. BeastyQT going with that fast reactor and that fast expansion as well. But again, same thing for BeastyQT as is the case for WhiteRa. Quick expands going to be much harder on this map against a Protoss or Terran opponent. So moving on down, SCV Scout's actually going to be able to stay inside of the base of WhiteRa for quite some time. The SCV Scout really doesn't have to worry to head on out until that Stalker actually comes into play. He's going to be moving right across that Zealot. One shot, almost getting that second shot off. Very close. Is the probe going to get it? No. Going to try to cut him off. Is he going to get that shot off? I don't think he is. This is very close. He actually may very well be able to get it off. We're going to have BeastyQT micro basically perfectly back to his base. Otherwise, he's going to lose his SCV. What he needs to do is make sure that he doesn't take too sharp of an angle at any point. He just needs to try to stay in a straight line as much as possible. If he tries to turn around or take, again, too sharp of an angle, he's going to get caught off. This is hilarious. At least this is freaking, something to look at because there's nothing else going on early game. And actually, it looks like BeastyQT is going for an expo. I'll take a look at that in a moment. I just wanted to see if there was any chance that this probe is going to catch it. No, probe going to be headed on back home, actually taking a couple of shots there from that Marine. So anyways, looking inside of BeastyQT's base, started off with that 1 racks, got that expo, and then dropped down 2 additional racks as well. So just going to be relying on this 1 barracks early game. Is he coming out with the Marauder? No, he is not. Just going to be coming out with that Marine, and then getting an upgrade as well, getting that stim pack upgrade. Reaper is out on the board. I can't believe I even missed the production of that. I was way too busy staring at that SCV, managing to take out that probe that was chasing his SCV buddy. That Reaper was pissed. He's like, you stay away from my SCV friend. Now what the Reaper is going to do, of course, is he going to do a lot of damage? Not likely, but what his main purpose is actually doing some scouting. Actually, WhiteRa, again with that Twilight Council, is he coming down with another Dark Shrine that is not here yet, but I'm almost entirely expecting it to come. Dark Shrine, here you come. Yes, there you are. So WhiteRa, 2 games in a row, opening up with DT. Is BeastyQT going to be prepared this game? He was not prepared at all last game. We pretty much saw him get torn apart. And is the Reaper going to catch it? Walking right by the Stalker. Second Stalker going to engage him. Is he going to manage to catch away? Is it going to be very close? No. Unfortunately, didn't manage to push up there. And luckily for WhiteRa, because he would have seen that Dark Shrine as it was placed right where that Reaper was about to drop. I had a really, really hard time saying Reaper. Kind of feel like an idiot right now. Engineer Bay coming down, and BeastyQT. There you go, buddy. Now he is actually going to be prepared. He is anticipating that those Dark Templar are going to be coming into play, so dropping down that engineering bay going to allow him to probably just get 1 or 2 turrets, maybe 1 here, and then 1 at his expo once he actually does move down. You can see right now, just keeping this orbital command here for the time being, he's just going to pump out a ton of SCVs, work on saturating this, then lift this off, drop it on over, and then probably going to pull a good portion of these guys down to that expo right there as well. So yeah, just about 1 or 2 turrets should pretty much do it for him. That's all he's really going to need. So the Dark Shrine is up, and unfortunately here for WhiteRa, I don't think it's going to do as much damage as he would have hoped. We do have that gateway coming here, and actually let me check if there was a scan or anything that went down. No, there wasn't. So this is all just basically guesswork, or not guesswork, but it's an educated guess. He's reasonably assured that WhiteRa is coming out with those Dark Templars, so he wants to make sure he's nice and safe. The other thing, too, is turret placement, like here at the front of your expo. A lot of times when Protoss players send observers to your base, the first place they go is like right between your expo and your main, and this is the perfect placement to actually pick off an observer who may not be paying enough attention, basically. We do have this one proxy pylon right here. That was, of course, going to be used to try to warp in some DT for some harassment. Proxy pylon on the edge of the base going to allow him to warp in here for a little bit closer harassment from that angle as well. But unfortunately for these DT, and unfortunately for WhiteRa, not going to be too effective here. It looks like he's going to actually try to sneak around the back and just try to do a little bit of damage. If nothing else, try to force a scan. I think he is just barely out of the range, but now he's within the range of that cloak detection, so going to want to push back. There we go. So he's going to just try to force the scan and just try to harass a little bit. Not going to actually be able to make it to walk up here. He would get spotted and likely picked off as he tried to. And WhiteRa coming out with a fast 3rd expo, so WhiteRa going to be trying to keep up this harassment, just try to be a nuisance, and if nothing else, distract BeastyQT. And then at that point, it's going to, of course, force BeastyQT to, well, no, it's not going to force him to do anything. He's not going to be paying enough attention. That's the plan, to allow WhiteRa to get this up in time and then be able to support some more production buildings, more than he would otherwise be able to. We're going to see Charge Zealots transition here as well. I would have really liked, unfortunately, WhiteRa doesn't have a Robo in play, but if he did, we could have seen some DT dropping, which is actually what he did do last game. So BeastyQT managed to defend himself there without taking too many losses. Actually, BeastyQT with 3 units killed, 2 of which have been workers, only slightly behind WhiteRa. WhiteRa has killed 4 units total, so neither player really having a huge advantage right now over the other. Now, clearly, that's going to change if WhiteRa gets this up and doesn't get attacked from BeastyQT. So if BeastyQT doesn't spot this, or he doesn't push out in time to actually catch WhiteRa off guard before he can take advantage of this third, then WhiteRa is going to be in a very, very strong position. But we do not know. We will have to wait and see until we find out what happens. Charge legs about 50%, just a little bit over, in fact, the way in. And there we go. Warp Prism is in. Going to be warping in some DT. Absolutely loving it. We already have some DT in the base. Actually, have managed to do a little bit of damage. Are they going to be warping in yet? No, he's going to wait. He's going to be moving actually down. He needs to be careful not to get within that turret range. There are no... Okay, yes, there is. I thought there were no turrets in the main. I was very frustrated for him. He's going to be losing this refinery unless he manages to repair it. No, he does not in time. So DT just trying to stay out of the range of the cloak detection of those turrets. Scan does go down, managing to drop that 1 DT, but there has been a lot of harassment so far from WhiteRa, and again, that is exactly what he needed. He bought himself time, and now he's got this expo up, and it's working on getting saturated right now, and this is very, very good for WhiteRa. Now, it's not all over for BeastyQT. BeastyQT really hasn't, he's been harassed, but he really hasn't taken that many losses, and he still does that have that opportunity to push out and do a lot of damage. We can see he himself is trying to come out with the third right now. DT still in the base and still harassing. I can't even believe BeastyQT is just not having a good day today when it comes to dealing with these Dark Templar. Going to be working down this reactor, and again, just trying to be as much of a nuisance as possible. BeastyQT trying to respond by getting as many turrets up as possible so that he can actually detect these guys on the edges of his base and trying to attack these buildings. He's killed a bunch of attachments already. He's done a bit of damage to this barracks over here as well. He's actually going to be trying to kill off this, but no, unfortunately, is within the range of that missile turret. Does get dropped, and there is that Raven, and here comes a push right now. We're still seeing DT harassment. Where the F is it? There it is. So DT actually trying to take down this barracks, but here comes the push from BeastyQT, and BeastyQT does have an opportunity right here to do a lot of damage. Taking a quick look right now at the army tab, we can see 56 army supply, 57 for BeastyQT as opposed to only the 34 of WhiteRa. WhiteRa has been focusing a lot on this harassment. He's also been focusing a lot on getting up this third, getting it up and running and saturated. So even with this DT in the base doing work here in the main base, this counterattack could be deadly for WhiteRa. Does he have enough to deal with it? Doesn't look like it. The front of his base has almost nothing, and this is going to be a very strong and very dangerous push. He's going to just walk right up into the main before any sentries can get up there and actually force field him out, and this is not looking good at all. This is going to be very devastating. Pylon taking out every single gateway that was powered right there. There are a few units right now going to be charging on down point defense drone, trying to absorb some of that damage. Charged Zealots trying to surround, but there are way too many Marines and Marauders. This is unbelievable. We do still have some Zealots working on the economy over here, but I don't think it matters because BeastyQT is going to do so much damage right here. Going to be taking down these gateways one at a time. WhiteRa, even when he gets that powered up, will not be able to warp in anything because he doesn't have his gateways, and there is the GG from WhiteRa. My gosh, absolutely fantastic. This was the second game in the row which we saw consistent harass from WhiteRa with those Dark Templar, and he'd managed to do a lot of damage and just be a huge nuisance. The problem was WhiteRa was using that as an opportunity to get up this third and get it saturated, which he did, and he did a great job of doing. But the issue was that when BeastyQT pushed out with his strong 2-base force, with that Raven and lots of Marines and Marauders, combat shield, stim pack, everything that they need to even have any upgrades. Yes, they also have that level 1 upgrade. It was just too much for him to handle. A strong 2-base push can definitely overwhelm 3 bases before you actually get in all your units and take advantage of that third base's economy. So there you have it, guys. Great game. Game number 2 between WhiteRa and BeastyQT. We will be moving on to game number 3 in just one moment. Remember, if you like the content, be sure to subscribe. And as always, guys, keep watching and keep owning.